expert with your local health update. I get so many emails and calls about CBD, the incredible oil from the hemp plant that's being used to provide relief to millions for joint discomfort, inflammation, and nagging injuries. It's the most talked about alternative health breakthrough in years. The CBD product I always recommend comes from CBD Labs, the gold standard of CBD. CBD Labs oil goes to work fast to relieve your discomfort and deliver the results one thought nearly impossible without a prescription. This powerful oil is not marijuana and contains no THC, the ingredient that gets you high. Oh yeah, CBD Labs oil has also been used to help thousands get a great night's sleep. Don't be fooled by all the imitators. Find out how to get a free bottle while supplies last.
To get your free bottle of CBD Labs CBD oil, 800-413-7451. That's 800-413-7451. Your free bottle for a limited time. 800-413-7451. 800-413-7451.
WQEE 99.1 FM The Key. Home of Southern Sports and Talk. Newnan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Cars will break down. And when they do, it's too late. If your car's out of warranty, it leaves you with two choices. Get stuck paying for expensive repairs or one phone call to CarShield. Their administrators pay for your covered repairs so you don't have to. Your coverage includes roadside assistance, towing, rental, and so much more. Plus, with their nationwide network, you choose the mechanic or dealer. Best of all, there's coverage for every wallet size. Make the smart call before it's too late. Call CarShield today.
Are you looking for guidance and direction? Stop on by the House of Light Tuesdays from 12 to 3 and have tea and tarot with Christy. The House of Light is located at 29 Jackson Street in Newnan, Georgia. Call 470-414-6711 for more information.
Are you tired of slow internet?
Yes.
Are you ready to start the season off with extra reliable, extra fast internet service?
Yes.
In the East Alabama, West Georgia region?
Yes.
No money up front.
Yes.
No credit check.
Of course.
No deposit, no contract.
Yes. Do you offer any government program assistance?
Yes, ma'am. Just for little than $10 a month, you can get good, fast, reliable internet service. And if you're looking for that, please call 706-604-7592. Once again, that's 706-604-7592. Mr. Chris Williams for good, reliable, fast internet.
The House of Light brings clarity to your soul, offering a safe space for healing through our compassionate practitioners, services, classes, and wisdom, plus the tools to support you in our retail space.
If you think or know you had COVID-19, you can be around others after 10 days since symptoms first appeared, and after 24 hours with no fever without fever-reducing medication, and after other symptoms have improved. If you have tested positive for COVID-19 and you had no symptoms, you can be around others 10 days after you got tested for COVID-19. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
This is Jared Rutledge of the Columbus River Dragons, your home for River Dragons hockey in Newnan.
The views and opinions of this show and program are not the views and opinions of this station, its management, or its clientele. It's now time for the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe, each and every week at this time on 99.1 FM WQEE. Here's this week's special.
Hello and welcome to this week's Wisdom Cafe. I'm Dr. Rick Chambers, and the Blue Plate special today is our special guest, Marissa Prang, who joins us from House of Light, and that's where we met. And so could you tell us a little about yourself? I see that you work with energy psychology.
Yes, Rick, I do. Thanks for having me on. So energy psychology, I got into that when I was trying to research different modalities that kind of I was driven to. And so I found a doctor named Dr. Bradley Nelson, chiropractor, really successful chiropractor, ended up closing his chiropractic office to go full force into teaching people how to do energy healing through what he was trained, which was muscle testing, kinesiology, and connecting to the subconscious. So that's how I pretty much got involved into the energy psychology field. And it's been an amazing journey so far.
Well, cool. For our listeners that don't know, my background is like counseling psychology, and so I think it'll be an interesting conversation with this idea. Maybe in the 90s, I started hearing people talk about energy and energy this and energy that, and kind of been talking about energy in this different way as if it were perceivable. And I was not trained in that way, had never heard of that until the 90s. Now, a lot of this has deep roots and kind of goes back, a lot goes back to around the 60s, but a lot of it goes back all the way to traditional Chinese medicine. So it has a long history, but it's new to many people in this culture, or relatively new. What about this idea of energy being perceivable by people in a systematic way?
So it's interesting that you asked that, because a lot of people, I try to explain to them, it's like if you're sitting in a room and you're facing the other direction, but somebody quietly walks in and you don't hear them, but you know somebody's there, you're energetically sensing there's a presence behind you. That's an energy. That's a feeling of an energy source. So it's also pretty much like a feeling and understanding what your body's telling you, and your body's trying to explain when you're feeling certain things. The energy in your body's trying to share something, and you're either going to accept it or deny it. But if you're going to be talking to somebody back and forth, you can pretty much either project off a certain energy to them, whether they're on the same page as them, or you might have a different feeling than they have. That's an energy connection you're having without having to verbalize it.
Yes, and so I like using like common everyday words or things that everybody can relate to, everybody's experienced in a certain way. And maybe before I heard of it as energy, people would talk about there's a vibe in the room, or so people naturally talk about this and they kind of experience it, but perhaps not in any like systematic way, or way that they can use this sense they can use it in a way.
Well, so, what's interesting is that that what I do is been around, like you said, for centuries. And kinesiologists, you can get a kinesiology degree. Now, there's different areas of kinesiology you can work in, but there's many doctors who use it. So it's not foreign by any means. It's just who is aware of it and has used it, or has been approached by a doctor or by a counselor of some sort. But it's constantly being used, and it's not as difficult as people. I mean, I can make it sound as difficult as you want me to make it sound.
Or it's mysterious, or
yeah, it doesn't, like things like breathing air doesn't need to be as difficult as we want to make it be, even though we understand how we breathe air and how
excellent.
So
everybody breathes, but then there are people that like really get into breath and systematically, and then like it does things for people.
Like, I guess like breath work. Like there's all different, like I'm not familiar with the breath work, but I know it can, I guess, take off years from your, like it actually add years to your life. And
especially in the realm of health and wellness, or health and especially people's experience in things. And I have this little phrase that I use for, like, if you're looking to the future, you want something cutting edge, old school. So it's very, very old school in some ways, but it's also cutting edge, because in the middle was this view of the body as a machine. Take consciousness out of it, and you're looking for like mechanisms like in a machine. And that's where the modern medicine and kind of certain form of medicine, and it's very good for like emergencies and surgery and germ theory. It's very good for many things, has been, but it struggles with chronic conditions, many of the health challenges that people face today.
Yeah, I think that I think we're getting closer, hopefully, to collaborate more from the Western and Eastern perspective.
Excellent.
Because doctors are realizing like they're there to make a difference to take that oath and to help people. But when they're not seeing those results, there's only so much you can do as a doctor to feel like confident in your skill and feel good about yourself if you're not seeing the results you're looking for. Like, I think a lot of them are realizing collaborating is not taking clients away from you. Like, there's plenty to go around. It's just going to make it better, honestly, I think, for everybody.
Yes. Over the last 30 years, I've watched this trend or this change from it being regular medicine and alternative medicine, and you had to choose between them. And what I'm really loving is the idea of no longer is it this or that, it's how can they work together. And then people changing how they experience their own body. Like there's the mental part, the physical part, the emotional part, and I think that's the part we're going to focus on today. And then the energy part. And so you're kind of at the intersection of emotions and energy, I would guess.
Yes, it's emotions, but it's also, some of it's physical. But emotions.
So the physical body, physical, emotions, energy.
Yes. So, but what's interesting is that we don't, I think, and I said this on the last time I was on the air, that we don't take to heart how amazing the mechanics of our body is. Like the hardware that was created in us, like it is godlike in so many ways. Like he created us in his own image. So it's like we are able to heal ourselves in so many ways, but we are conformed to not being able to process that. So it's like if we were brought in and taught that way, I think, or exposed to that,
excellent.
Then a lot of things could change for the better.
Yes.
And it's
something like I have no idea how to consciously digest food. My body does it for me.
Exactly.
Or how to heal a wound. Mm-hmm. Like your body just does that, and consciousness is not directly involved.
Yeah, no, it's not. It is pretty miraculous, but it's funny how a lot of things people are geared to the conformity part, but again, like this has all been out in the world, energy work, before we even existed. It existed. So it's like it's just a matter of like what it is that Dr. Bradley...
It was kind of the first medicine. It was the healing that people discovered first. Spiritual even, like spiritual energy kinds of medicine.
And it's interesting because I always say, like, if it may not work for everybody. It may not be something they resonate with. But there's millions of people out there who do these things, and just like there's millions of doctors out there. So you just need to give it a chance. Now, it's trying to get the insurance companies to be on board, because they don't, the less money they have to spend, the better it is for them. So it's like trying to connect with them as well to help people who feel like they have to have the insurance to protect them, to be able to only seek counsel through that.
And there have been more and more things in this field that the insurance companies, but they are generally the last on board with these kind of things. So with emotions, from a counseling point of view, if somebody describes like a physical symptom, we'll kind of see if there's an emotional like connection, but physical is physical and mental is mental, and there's kind of a line between the two. And then in the emotional, we'll dig into like, why are you feeling this? What's the history of this? And so it's this very like slow, deliberate process, and perhaps even pushing the person deeper into the emotions, whereas I think you have a very different way of...
Yeah, so what I do, and I've already experienced, I've been to counselors before for myself, and everybody resonates different with everybody. So there's a different counselor for everybody and different people, I guess.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So the ones that
even my way of doing counseling isn't right for everyone. Like course. Even within the field, there are people that are resonating, which there's one of those energy words again, that and it's trusting that people will like find the person that they resonate with, but that's really up to the person.
And it's hard because you don't have that option. I mean, you have like, you can get a
trial
session.
And error is the only.
But there's so many people that will not go and get the help because one, either we're lazy, or two, we're scared, Or 3, we don't want to spend our copay or to take our time off from work to go do it. So then we suffer. We cause ourselves to suffer, whether it's from a psychology point or just a medical for a illness of some sort. But,
and I think often even from a hopeless point that they don't think or they don't realize how much certain techniques could help, or they just don't believe anything could help.
Exactly. Well, this is so, and what I do, I see a doctor for myself because I have some of my own conditions and I still take synthetic medicines that eventually I will get myself off of. So I believe in what doctors can do, but I have experienced many things in my life that have led me to the holistic route, finding actual evidence that it helps me. And through that, working on people, seeing the evidence, it's like, it's amazing. Like it's something I can never seen myself in the past doing, but here I am now today. I've grown and I've been able to, now I'm able to share this knowledge with people. So the goal is to help people, teach them how to do this, because we all have the ability to heal ourselves in so many ways. It's just a matter of us getting out of our head and shutting down our ego to dismiss it or shut down other people's opinions, not taking everybody's opinion and making it your own opinion. I think we do a lot of that.
So what technique do you have when you say like getting out of our head? Where else can you go, or how do you work around being in your head? And
so when I like one, reading, like I do a lot of reading, but if you're going to, like, when I work with somebody, like, I can listen to you a little bit about what you're physically feeling, emotionally feeling, but the rest of that's going to be shut down because it's not going to matter after I start connecting with what I feel is the most important part, which is the subconscious part of you. That's the part that a lot of us can some of us can hear and pay attention to, because there is 2 parts to us, and I think a lot of us ignore it, causing the other part of us to suffer, because it doesn't have a voice for itself in a way, but it does have a voice for itself if you know how to pay attention to it, which is the part I connect to because it knows all about you. It wants the best for you. So versus verbalizing all your pain and regurgitating it to me, which is fine because I can listen, but we're going to get down to the nitty gritty and get to parts where you've stored it for many years and weren't even aware it was there.
Right. So we were talking about the physical, mental, emotional. There was this new part that was added, the ego, which was kind of discovered by psychology at the same time as it discovered there's an unconscious about 120 years ago. So subconscious, unconscious. There was this realization there are things going on in your experience you may not be consciously aware of. And so I think that's kind of the entrance and kind of commonality. So psychology originally used dreams to get into the unconscious or to gain access to the unconscious. But I believe your technique is a different way of gaining access to the unconscious.
Yeah, it's it's a well-known, like the muscle testing kinesiology it's the same. I mean, your acupunctures are really well known, they're accepted. It's the same. It's a form of energy healing. All these are identical, but they're just doing it in a different format and it's using a different technique. So mine is just muscle testing the body. So I would either work on you, like if you went to a chiropractor, you would have a muscle testing done where you were trying to see if you're allergic to something. They would have you hold that item in your hand, and they would try to put pressure on your arm, and your arm would either loosen or get tighter. And that's your subconscious communicating back saying yes or no. That's the only way it can talk. And so that's how, and so for me, I can do that, or I can work proxy, which is doing it from a distance on myself, because scientifically shows that energy has no distance. You can't see what you're breathing out of your mouth, but you're breathing and you know you're alive. So it's there. Same thing as energy. Yes. It's but yes,
So, and I think to have a coherent conversation for us to like kind of say who we are, how we're working, in a way you have to be in your head and ego to have a certain kind of conversation. But I think we're going to try something today that's a little hard of kind of can we actually shift gears as we're talking to kind of try to bypass the ego a little bit, even like on air?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
today.
I was, are you interested in having me try this on you today?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to be working on Dr. Rick, and I have, if you can imagine, a list of emotions in front of you. I am going to be asking Dr. Rick's subconscious through muscle testing if he has trapped emotions. And I'm going to be getting a yes or no. So just follow with me through this process and try to bear with us on this. And we're going to see what we're going to get out of this. So I've connected with Dr. Rick, and I kind of just I kind of say a small prayer, because I like to say it's not just it's me, but I like to give it to God, source that is the overall connection here. And I'm just going to ask, does Dr. Rick have a trapped emotion that we can release? And I'm going to ask, does Dr. Rick have a trapped emotion we can release? Yes. So I have 2 columns. Both columns have emotions, and then you have your organs that attach to all these emotions. Is this coming from column A? Yes. Is this going to be in an odd row? Yes. Is this attached to Dr. Rick's heart organ? No. Is it attached to his small intestines? Yes. So we have gathered that there's something going off the small intestines, and it's coming from an emotional column that is in column A. So let's see what the emotion is. Is this abandonment? No. Is this betrayal? No. Is this forlorn? Nope. Is it lost? So lost is what's coming up. So now I'm going to ask, is this Dr. Rick's own trapped emotion? No. So that means that it has nothing to do with him. It's something that he's picked up somewhere from somebody. And so let's see who it's coming from. Is this coming from a family member? Yes. Is this coming from a parental figure? Yes. Is this coming from a female? No. Is it coming from a male? Yes. Is this coming from Dr. Rick's father? Yes. Is this his father's own trapped emotion? No. So that means that we're going generation-wise. Now, is your father still around?
He passed in 2019.
Okay. So even though we pass on, which is a totally different area to talk about, it's an energy source. We become an energy when we leave the body, and the soul kind of carries on, but we carry on the emotions that we had once we leave our body. And so whether we believe in reincarnation or not, you're able to release these emotions from these energy sources. So whatever's coming from Dr. Rick, we're going to see how many generations back this is going. Is this going 1 to 10 generations? No. 10 to 20 generations? 18 generations? 19? So this is going back 19 generations. And this is all stemming from somebody else that has nothing to do with Dr. Rick, but is in his family gene line. And I'm going to ask, is there anything that we need to know about this? No. And can I go ahead and release it? Yes. So I'm just going to work on my main meridian, which is my forehead, the center part of my forehead, back to the base of my skull, where acupuncturists will work on all the meridians in the body. And I'm just going to swipe. I'm just going to swipe, and I'm just going to say, I ask you to release this trapped emotion of loss from Dr. Rick, from anybody in his family line, anybody in all the past generations, from the beginning of time to this current moment in time. And then I'm going to ask the question, did we release this trapped emotion of loss from Dr. Rick? Yes. So the next question is let's ask you, do you have anything that you deal with, any tics, anything that you'd like to address that bother you in general from day-to-day that you deal with on your own?
You mean physically, emotionally?
Physically, emotionally. Whether it's working with your hands, whether it's, you get anxiety,
Okay, yeah, we were talking about, some of this, there was a previous conversation in a discussion group at the House of Light, yeah. And I just mentioned that I have this kind of odd quirk that anytime I have to work with my hands in any way, as simple as I can get anxiety, like if we have people over and I have to pour somebody else's drink.
Okay.
I'll go am I going to spill it or something like that? Everything from that to that there's a feeling of dread and a reluctance to like do anything with my hands, and you found that like very interesting.
Yes, because it's stemming from something. So let's focus on Dr. Rick's hands. Let's ask this question. Does Dr. Rick have a trapped emotion causing him to have anxiety with using his hands? So I'm going to ask the question. I ask that, and then is it a yes or no? Yes. Is this coming from... Now, actually, I'm going to let you look at this. So you're going to hold that and tell me what the emotions are. Is this coming from column A? Yes. Is this an odd row? No. Is this an even row? So is this row 2? So it's in row 2. So tell me the 2 organs that are attached in row 2.
The spleen and stomach.
Okay. Is this his spleen organ? Is this his stomach? It's the stomach. So, and is this in column A? Yes. So is this emotion 1, emotion 2, emotion 3? Now, what's emotion 3?
Disgust.
Okay. So,
like the way I said that.
Is disgust the trapped emotion that he's dealing with? Yes. Okay. And is this his own trapped emotion? No. Is this inherited? Yes. So where did he get this emotion of disgust? Is this coming from a family member? Is this coming from a female? Is this coming from his mother? Okay. So I'm getting this. Is this your mother's own trapped? What was your mother's name?
Rachel.
Rachel. Is this Rachel's own trapped emotion? No. Is this inherited? And so how far back is this going? Is this going 1 to 5 generations, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 14? 14. So it's going back 14 generations. And the question is, when did Dr. Rick pick up this emotion? How old was he? Was this in the very beginning of childhood? No. Was this at conception? Okay, so you were born into this.
I don't remember not having it.
So yes, so it's something you picked up. Now it had nothing to do with you.
But I've only become aware of it as a pattern very recently.
So there you go. But again, it doesn't belong. It's not yours. Now, if you probably because you were in psychology, if you thought back to your childhood, like in you having that feeling of not liking to use your hands a lot, that's obviously when you became more, I guess, knowledgeable about it. That's when you'd be aware of that timeline. In
hindsight, I'm able to see it as a pattern.
Yes. Yep.
But it was just this kind of feeling that, and what happens with that is you blame all kinds of other things on it. It's just this or it's just that.
So it's when you can't figure out what it is or why you have it.
Because you give a reasonable connection to it.
So let's say, so I've already figured out it's a generational thing. So do we have any more questions? No. Can I just go ahead and release it? Yes. So again, I'm just going to swipe from the very beginning of my forehead to the back of my neck, and I'm going to ask you to release this trapped emotion from Dr. Rick, from his mother, from all past generations, from the beginning of time to this current moment in time. And since it's a generational thing or inherited, I would do 10 swipes because it's more deep. And if it's not, it's just 3 swipes of your energy field. And then, as silly as it looks, because I'm just swiping my forehead like I'm brushing my hair back, it's working. So let's ask the question. Do we release this trapped emotion from Dr. Rick? Yes. Does Dr. Rick have more trapped emotions concerning not liking to use his hands? Yes. But so that's, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we're doing. Now, you and I could continue working on you later on, but it's just so you can physically and visually see what I'm doing. That's
right. And I loved that in a way because I was able to relax while you were doing that. It's kind of nice to not have the ego struggling to solve a problem. Prior to this, all I had was I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, your subconscious is going to figure it out. So once I'm done working on you, if you give me that opportunity to finish it through, you will have a lighter feeling to yourself. And some people don't feel anything when they leave, but you're going to feel something. And so I say, give it 3 days because your body's going to have a roller coaster of emotions because it's like detoxing. It's going in somewhere. It's got to come out somewhere. And you might be happy, sad, mad. So after that's done, then those emotions are completely gone. And so then it just depends on how many sessions somebody would need. And I don't ask the person, I ask the subconscious. And then we work on a case by case pretty much.
Right. wonder if our listeners could even hear, like as we went from trying to have this conversation to you doing your process, things became much more automatic, much more, it's kind of like you took control and just did what you do.
Yeah, it's
and there's almost like a trance-like, or like you're concentrating very hard, I think, or there's something about it.
Now the question that people always have is, can you answer this question or that question? I said, so I'm pretend like you're on Google. You got to be very precise when you're asking questions to Google. I am not a mind reader. I'm not psychic. I can't see what's in your mind, but I can muscle test and I get images in the forefront of my mind. So if you have questions to ask, you ask them and we can ask the mind, but it has to pertain to you. And that's pretty much it.
Right.
And it's
so the similar thing to me is I call it my little voice. When I'm counseling with someone, there'll just be this feeling like ask this, say this, do this.
Yeah, you're listening to yourself. You're listening to the right. It's like the good and the bad. You're able to listen to the back of your subconscious and hear it.
So this has been fascinating, and I would love to continue this conversation, and hope you'll join us again for Wisdom Cafe, sponsored by the House of Light.
Yes,
Thanks
we appreciate
for House of Light.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the House of Light presents the Wisdom Cafe on 99.1 FM WQEE. The House of Light, a wellness center at 29 Jackson Street here in Newnan, is a place for people to relax and find true healing. For additional information, 407-414-6711. Remember to tune in next week for another healing message from the House of Light presents the Wisdom Cafe right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.